Where's Annabelle? A voice calls out in the dark. The query was followed quickly by the sound of gurgling and coughing, and you turn your torch outstretched to cast some light where your new friend Annabelle should be. Just at the edge of the light, you can see her green boots, the toes gently scuffing the ground at an odd angle, frantically trying to gain purchase. Horror grips you and you inhale deeply to call out to your compatriots, but instead of calling out for aid, a scream finds its way out of you. And in that moment, you realize it's not horror that has a hold on your heart, but something else entirely. Luckily for you, your torch hitting the ground in conjunction with your scream was enough of a signal to the rest of your party that you are in danger. Unluckily for you, where your torch dropped happens to illuminate Annabelle, just enough that you can see her raised above the ground, struggling with a black mass piercing her chest, not breaking the skin, and it seems to be pulsating rhythmically as she becomes more and more gaunt by the second. The real horror of the situation is that the inky tendril appears to be coming from the wall behind her, where you can see two shadows, one gripping Annabelle's, reaching around, pulling out her life force and Annabelle's own. There is no other visible being in the room, just your struggling friend and the shadow. The rest of your party turns to see both of you being gripped by these invisible creatures and hopefully can help you in a timely fashion because dear Annabelle has just stopped struggling. Roll for initiative. Hey there, creatures, and welcome to Encounter This, a podcast exploration of the creatures from Dungeons & Dragons and the lore that surrounds them.
Oh, welcome, listeners. Welcome. Did you like that little neck scratch when we opened up?
Loved it. Loved it. We got away with it last.
Tried to rush it.
We got away with it last week because we fucked up the video, but not so much this week.
Welcome to another episode of Encounter This, the controversial game system of Dungeons and Dragons. I am, of course, Freeman Nightcloak Easton, and joining me today is the one and only James Lamont Cranston Keed. Whatever that means.
That's going to make exactly two of our listeners very happy.
Okay. And we will be covering shadows, an all-encompassing creature of sorts or thing. I don't know what the word I'm looking for is. I was going to say some sort of physical force, but it's not. I don't know. Tell me about shadows.
Okay.
And why mine is still pinned to me all the time.
Yeah, shadows are this is going to be a weird creature. Sort of. There's not a lot in D&D, which I guess you would imagine by it just being a living shadow.
Right.
So there's not a whole lot of anything, and the cultural lore is so unspecific because this is one of those things that was just so pervasive in different cultures that we're just going to talk about a bunch of shit. So
okay.
So starting with they obviously resemble a dark exaggeration of a humanoid shadow. You know what, let's get some.
Sorry, I messed up as the intro guy on this one. I forgot. If you want to follow along, Monster Manual, page 269. And what's this other one? I don't know what that stands for.
That is Guildmaster's Guide to Ravnica.
Oh, the Ravnica book. Okay.
Yeah.
Page 205, if you happen to have that one.
Yeah, sort of. We've been asked to push into the Ravnica lore, so I made a very shallow attempt this time around because the setting just doesn't interest me at all. But we'll get into that in a second.
I don't know much about it, but
there's not much to know, really. So this is our shadow from 2nd edition. Pretty great.
Looks like a silly silhouette from the Gremlins movies.
Yeah, it's pretty fantastic. No feet or anything like that, because obviously shadows disappear where you as a human being touch the ground. So
Mm-hmm.
in D&D, they are incorporeal undead, as I'm sure we all picked up on.
Mm-hmm.
Here is the 3E art. Just a little bit
creepy.
Yeah, a little more gaunt, a little more hollow. It actually reminds me a lot of a 5e Mephit, so I couldn't really take it seriously
I
as a
can
shadow.
actually see that. Yeah. Just makes me look it's covered in tattered clothes or something.
Yeah, something. Here is the 4e art. This I quite like.
Oh, that's yep. That's actually pretty neat.
Yeah, it's a really interesting perspective, listeners. Those of you listening to the audio podcast, it is a top-down image of this fancy lad being choked with their hat falling off. And then at the very bottom of the page is this fancy lad with his hat falling off. And then most of the image, it's a portrait image. Most of the image is their shadow on the ground being choked by another shadow.
Yeah, so you can't see the shadow holding onto his neck unless you're looking at the shadows of it happening.
Yeah, this one will definitely be hitting the Instagram because this might be my favorite 4E art so far.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Pretty cool.
Yeah, and the 5e art is a little more jarring. This I actually find to be just straight up nightmare fuel.
Yep, I remember this actually. I kind of forgot about this piece of art, but it is terrifying. Yep.
Yeah, it
just the shadow getting you from behind, basically, right around the neck.
So in 5th edition, they are drawn to creatures that have been tainted by evil, because apparently they taste better.
Oh, why not?
Yeah. So we
all have our preferences.
Yeah, right.
I'd go for a tuna melt, but all right.
So they drain their victim's strength and physical form until its shadow begins to move on its own. And then once the mortal dies, the shadow then breaks free, giving birth to a new shadow. The fun part about 5e is if the mortal somehow comes back to life, the shadow birthed from it senses the mortal's rebirth and seeks out its parent to dispatch it. And the creature that has been reborn no longer casts a shadow until the undead shadow is destroyed. So it's like the Highlander. You can only have one.
All right.
And
that's kind of fun, though.
Yeah. And that's it for 5e Shadows.
That's it, eh?
Yeah.
Ooh, simple.
So in previous editions, they hate life and light, and they specifically seek out mortals who lived good lives. Though they hesitate to confront those wearing silkstone. I don't know why this is. There's a link to silkstone in the show notes. It's an actual mineral. It's a fibrous variety of quartz. Couldn't find out why they're not a fan of that at all in any of the reading that I tried. So here we go.
Excuse me. Yeah.
And their touch saps the strength of living creatures, just like 5e. But in this case, they're not needed as sustenance. They exist entirely on the negative energy that they themselves are made up for. They're just straight up an addict for living energy.
Okay.
So if denied this living energy for too long, they will enter a frenzy and begin to just attack anything. Normally, they're pretty wary. Right. They're ambush predators. You know, I would say hide in the shadows, but that feels like a hat on a hat.
Yeah. Yeah. But I think it's pretty apt to call them, an addict in that sense. Yeah, they would be cautious, but they will become daring, as it were, should they become desperate.
Yeah, exactly.
For their favorite meal.
And they usually live alone in dark places, but every now and again you can find a gang of shadows, which is an actual collective noun from previous editions, which refers to between 2 and 5. Or a swarm of shadows, which is between 6 and 11. And then the last thing from the D&D lore that I managed to pull is that the clerics of Shar, known as Night Cloaks, they can be capable of summoning shadows as either summon creatures or like how some clerics can summon fae or summon natural items. They can summon shadows. And we've also left a link to the Forgotten Realms page on Night Cloaks because they're pretty metal. They're like evil clerics. They're
Oh yeah,
yeah, they're really neat. Yeah, Char's
cool.
not a good deity.
not one of your chummy types.
No.
I can tell you that Pathfinder Second Edition doesn't really have. If anything, it has less lore than that for shadows.
Oh wow.
Yeah, just a quick glance at it. I haven't looked at them once before. You guys have encountered one in Abomination Vaults already.
Yep.
But I think maybe the cool-ish thing about these is like they're basically the same. They lurk in dark places. They're incorporeal undead. They particularly are can be in certain ways held back by a glowing weapon or some sort of source of light, unless they're feeling really intent on coming at you. They do have there are two different levels of stat blocks for the shadow. It's a shadow and a greater shadow, and there's a bunch of variants as well. I won't go into detail, but I think maybe one of the cooler things about what you can do with the shadow in this case, and probably the 5e as well, is like the way you fought one. It wasn't just a random shadow. It was the shadow of a very particular individual from that place from centuries ago, and it took a particular form. And it was dressed in fine clothing that you could barely see in the shape of the shadow and stuff. And so there was like a backstory built in it. You never got it because it wasn't about to parlay with you, but it was kind of a cool little thing. I was like, okay, they're not just random incorporeal undead. They are likely to be something very specific.
That is neat.
Yeah. So you could have a lot of fun with that. It's simple enough to just like kind of slap that on and make an artwork just like a sort of, I don't know, just a dark tone or whatever. Just color it black, and then boom, you got shadow.
Right. Just up the contrast to 100%, and you've just got like the black silhouette of I don't know, like a pterodactyl or something.
That'd be fun.
That'd be pretty cool.
My brain was not about to go that direction, but I'll take it.
Shadow dinosaurs. Yeah, one of the things in cultural lore, I don't know where it comes from in my head, but I have this image of something in my head just turning into something that flies, jumping onto a wall or a floor, skimming the floor, and then popping out again. I couldn't figure out where it came from because again, this is so pervasive. Like creatures either being able to meld into the shadows or become shadows or control shadows. It exists everywhere. Every culture has something like this. Every pop culture touchstone has something similar to a degree. Yeah. Obviously, that's an exaggeration. Listeners, don't write in.
Yeah, I mean, that's shadows. Where there's light, there's shadows. So everyone's gonna have some story about it. And we all know, thanks to this show and beyond, that people's imaginations from a long time ago ran pretty rampant.
Yeah, which is a perfect segue to our cultural lore segment.
Okay, sweet.
So the first thing we're going to talk about today is obviously something that I'm not going to be able to pronounce very well. So this is an indigenous an indigenous population native to the southeastern United States, known as okay, first of all, I don't speak this language. This language was very hard to find a pronunciation guide for, and the language itself is very different. So the emphasis and the cadence of the language is like staccato while being rhythmic.
Okay.
So this is the Choctaw tribe. Forgive me. I'm trying my absolute best here. And we're gonna talk about some of their words that I'm going to try and pronounce, but I'm real nervous about this one. To the Europeans, this was known as one of the 5 civilized tribes. I've left a link to that if you want to look more into old-timey racism. But they believed that every man had a Shai Lom Bish, an outside shadow that always followed them, and a Shi Lop, inside shadow or ghost, which after death eventually goes to the land of ghosts, and that's something we can look more at in Ghosts. But when the mortal dies, the Shi Lum Bish would wander restlessly, moaning over its former home, its home being its host, seeking another place to live. it would then try and frighten its friends, which, are other shadows, to scare them away so it could take their place with their host.
Okay.
Which I just thought was awesome. Like this.
Yeah, that's fun.
Yeah. And it could take the place of specific animal shadows as well, like an owl or a fox, but there were different words for that I couldn't find.
What I like about that is it's almost like being haunted by your dead friend's ghost. So people were probably like, seeing a shadow go, oh crap, so and so just died. I'm feeling, the trauma of that. But it's specifically the outside ghost you're saying. So it's not the ghost inside ghost. It's the outside shadow. So it's like the ghost following you, but it's specifically not the ghost.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a reason this one is
that.
first. Yeah. I also fell in love with that. And they have another preternatural being based on a shadow called the Na Lusa Chito, which is a great black being. God, I feel terrible pronouncing it like that, but I want to try and do this population justice.
Why not? Yeah.
So it is thought to be it is thought to seek out people of evil or depressing thoughts, and it would then enter their mind and eat their souls.
All right then.
Yeah, and they were very afraid of this. So many Choctaw people would not even say its name in fear of summoning this creature.
Okay. Makes me wonder how they learned about it if they didn't want to say its name.
So
how did they pass it on?
Yeah, there is another name that they say, and it's related to the internal shadow. The Shilup is. And it's another word. I can't remember what the other word, but it's something Shilup, and that was like the word that they did say.
Right. Okay.
Like evil shadow. I think it means like this. Something like. I picked up on a little bit of these translations, like Lusa from that Na Lusa means like wolf or hunter.
Okay.
So this means like person, hunter, and then whatever Chito means.
Gotcha.
So yeah, it's a really interesting language, and I spent like probably 2 hours trying to learn how to pronounce those 4 words, because I just wasn't getting it. Like any O sounds like an O in note without any other accents, and any I sounds like an I in ice. So it's
Mahabharata all over again.
Yeah. This was a particularly difficult one for me. The next creature on the list is the Jinn, which is Jinn, anglicized as genies or romanized as D-Jinn. These are visible creatures that stem from pre-Islamic and Arabic religions, and we will cover those more when we get to jinns.
Surely, yeah.
And then there is the Greek and Roman philosophy of a shade, which is the spirit of a dead person residing in the underworlds, which is kind of where the word shadow comes from, because there's a common belief that the dead there live in shadow, and that's why they're called shades. They're ghosts that only live in the dark.
Right.
And obviously we'll touch more on that when we talk about ghosts.
Indeed.
So
really keeping shadows at arm's length from everything else here.
I mean, not out of ambition, but there's creatures that fit these descriptions better, and that's why I dove into the Choctaw people, because they're the one that really seemed to have like a myth around shadows that wasn't just something else.
Yeah.
And we've seen this before in D&D, where they separate creatures into 2 camps just so that there's more variety for the players or whatever.
For sure. Yeah.
And then we're going to get into the tangentially related stuff, which is always my favorite part of the program.
Why not?
The first is called the Book of Shadows. I just included this because I was researching and I came upon it, and it sounded metal. So this is any text containing Wiccan magical rituals. So specifically magical rituals. And it was first created in the 1940s or 50s by Gerald Gardner, which he used in his Bricket Wood Coven in Hertfordshire. We'll put more information or links to the Bricket Wood in the show notes as well. They are an active Wicca coven, still active to today.
Oh, wow.
And they're one of the first, and he is He referred to the Book of Shadows as his magic spell cookbook. So any coven has a single Book of Shadows that they write all of their magic spells in.
Okay.
And then we get on to the other weird shit. Okay. So first, this is an image of shades from the Greek and Roman mythology. This is a portrait of Hades. So big fan of that. You can see the shades kind of in the background, and it's all painted in darkness, which I really like.
Cool.
And then we have this. This is an episode of The Twilight Zone called The Shadow Man, with a living shadow that hunts this kid. Didn't watch it, but
kid.
Yeah, right. Didn't watch it, but it's supposed to be pretty good.
Okay.
Up next is this guy. I only included it because it's from Mega Man 3, and that's an awesome game. This is Shadow Man. He's one of the bosses.
I was saying it looks very Mega Man X or esque, but yeah.
Then we have Shadow the Hedgehog.
Of course.
The Honda Shadow.
Oh my god.
And finally, to where I concentrated most of my research, because this is one of my areas of expertise, the Shadow.
Oh.
So this...
The comic books, friends. I bet we're getting into comic books.
Yeah. This is a gentleman made famous in the early 1930s, specifically July 31st in 1930, first debuted on the radio in the Detective Story Hour. Who knows what evil lurks in the hearts of men? The Shadow knows.
The Shadow. That's fun.
Yeah. Later followed into pulp magazines, written by Walter B. Gibson, starting in 1931. Later, in September 26, 1937, the first Shadow-only radio drama, so known as The Shadow. This is when I started not listening, but this is where I picked up the series. I'm a big fan of these radio dramas. These radio dramas, listeners, are why I got into podcasts. And that's so, you know, when you listen to things like the Golember and the October intro, this is directly responsible for that. And the first episode was Death House Rescue. We'll have a link to that in the show notes as well, because it's all public domain now. And it was starring the then 22-year-old Orson Welles.
Oh, 22.
Yeah.
Damn.
And then in 1938, he was replaced by Bill Johnstone. He's probably the most famous voice of the Shadow. And then in 44 by Brett Morrison, who played him on and off for 10 years. Mm. And then in the 1940s, it migrated from pulp into comic books. So this was a cover of one of the first Shadow comic books. Or this is the cover of a collection of pulp stories. And then in the 1970s, the rights went to DC Comics. So here's one of the first, The Shadow. I think this is volume 2. I actually have this this whole run on my shelf next to me.
He's back, and God help the guilty. It's so funny.
And then in the 1990s, it moved to Dark Horse. And then in 1997, there was a live action film starring Alec Baldwin, who is pictured here as the Shadow.
Oh my God, seriously?
Yeah, that's Alec Baldwin.
That's so funny.
Yeah, they fight Kubla Khan.
Of course they do.
And the books are now published by Dynamite, so they're still going here and there. In the books, the Shadow is known as Kent Allard, though it isn't revealed until 1937. So not 6 years after they started the books, they finally revealed his identity in a book called The Shadow Unmasks. Mm-hmm. He was a famous pilot in French for the French during World War I, known as the Black Eagle. Later, excuse me, later recanted to be the Dark Eagle. Excuse me again. And after the war ends, he fakes his death by crashing his plane in Guatemala before encountering an ancient Xinca tribe. Okay. Don't know if they're real. Didn't bother to look it up. But essentially, he uses magic tricks, his own intelligence, and a Colt 45 to hunt down criminals.
The Colt 45.
Yeah. So, in almost all other media, his alias is only Lamont Cranston. But in the books, he actually steals Lamont Cranston's identity as a cover while Lamont's out of town. He acts as Lamont in New York.
Oh, okay.
And then in the radio drama, he does culturally appropriates a lot of Eastern European and African stereotypes, in which he learns how to read minds and hypnotize people enough to make them think that he is invisible. So just by looking at you, he can hypnotize you into not being able to see him.
So he must have erased your short-term memory at the same time then.
Yeah. He also routinely states that this shit isn't magic and is based on science.
Amazing.
Yeah. And after the war, he returns to New York and decides his best way to use these newly appropriated skills are to become a vigilante. Does that sound familiar to you at all, Freeman?
Yep, a little bit.
Yeah, and that's probably because Bob Kane and Bill Finger cite the Shadow as the basis of this man here, the Man of the Bat. Batman's origin story is specifically based on the book Patterns of Peril, which is a shadow pulp by Theodore Tinsley. So Batman is
cool.
just a 1930s, a more 1930s version of the Shadow. Alan Moore has also cited him as being the inspiration for V.
Okay.
He's also clearly the inspiration for Darkwing Duck and Darkman, and yeah. I could go on. But there is one last one that I want to touch on because it's really close to my heart, and it is this. This is Beware the Grey Ghost. This is an episode of the Batman the Animated TV show, I think from 1994, wherein Batman meets his pulp hero, the Grey Ghost, who is clearly based on the Shadow. He's got the cloak, he's got the fedora, he's got the goggles. In this, he uses a gas gun. So this is an homage to Bill Finger and Bob Kane or being inspired by the Shadow as Batman, but this goes deeper. The reason I love this so much, and I'm getting chills just talking about it, is because the voice of the Shadow is Adam West.
Oh yeah.
And the late Adam West and the late oh my God, what is
Kevin Conroy?
Kevin Conroy, thank you. And the late Kevin Conroy cites Adam West as being one of his big inspirations for playing Batman. Mm-hmm. So this is both an homage to the Shadow and Adam West, two very, very prominent figures in Batman's history. Yeah. So this episode always strikes home for me, not only because I love the pulp aspect of it, but because I love Adam West as this Shadow analog, and I love the meta homage it's paying.
Yeah.
I actually have a figure of the Grey Ghost on my shelf next to me. That's how much I love this episode. I got one Batman Beyond figure and then a figure of the Grey Ghost.
And that's just a great poster and image in general. It evokes a lot of, I don't know, just a lot of pulp. Yeah, at the very least.
Yeah, the yellow and the grays, So this will definitely be hitting the Instagram as well.
Cool.
And then we have one last cultural thing that I feel like we need to talk about, even though I super don't want to. And that is the shadow person. So this is a shadow figure or black mass. These were popularized around April 12th, 2001, when a man called Art Bell interviewed another man claiming to be an indigenous elder called Thunderstrike. About these beings from their indigenous culture that were never identified, and it is believed that Thunderstrike was actually just a white man, because Art Bell is super problematic, as is his radio drama, and that's why we're not going to name the radio show here. But this sparked the beginning of a belief in a race of shadow people that exist in our world. So real people believe these things exist, and they're very clearly modeled after the Shadow Man in that Twilight Zone, because all reported sightings have them wearing a fedora, and they are believed to be the devil himself coming after these people. And this is a real belief. 2 years later, somebody wrote a book about it, like confirming the existence, and this is what is credited as kicking off this human belief in shadow people.
First I heard of it.
Yeah, this is the first I heard of it too. But if you research shadowy, or if you Google shadowy figure, You don't get a whole lot, but if you Google shadow humanoid, this is the first thing that comes up, which is wholeheartedly depressing. I can't say beyond a shadow of a doubt that these things don't exist, but these things don't exist.
Yeah, probably not. Gonna go ahead and say that the devils and fedoras are not walking amongst us.
Yeah,
just go throw it out there.
Yeah. So,
okay.
That is the end of what can loosely be defined as cultural lore and cultural impact. So we're just going to take a quick break, and we'll be back very shortly. And we are back.
We are back from James Kidd's radio drama and comic book story hour. Let's see what else he's got up his sleeve.
Yeah, now
what else is lurking in the shadows?
Yeah, the seed of crime bears bitter fruit. That's also from the Shadow radio drama.
Lovely.
Yeah.
I'm sure that this stat block is going to be a bitter fruit indeed.
It's not bad.
Yeah.
So we're going to start off real disappointing. The CR is 1/2.
Of course it is.
The AC is 12 and the HP is 16. Size is medium. Alignment is chaotic evil. Speed is 40.
Gotcha.
And then we get into the other things. So it has damage vulnerability to radiant.
Okay.
It is resistant to acid, cold, fire, lightning, thunder, and non-magical attacks.
That's a lot for a half CR.
It is straight up immune to necromantic and poison, but that's an undead trait. And then it has the normal undead immunities: exhaust, frightened, grappled, paralyzed, petrified, poisoned, prone, and restrained. Has dark vision 60 feet, which is insane to me. It should just be able to see in the dark.
Gotta put a cap on it somewhere, I guess.
Yep. And then it has a couple of abilities. The first is Amorphous, which is a throwback to our old Ooze episode. It can move through spaces as small as 1 inch without squeezing.
Okay.
It has an ability called Shadow Stealth. So in dim or darkness, it can use Hide as a bonus action.
Sure, makes sense.
Sunlight Weakness. So in sunlight, it has disadvantage on attacks, ability checks, and saving throws. And that is specifically Sunlight, which I believe is a 3rd level spell.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah, it's not a low level spell. Like Light or Dancing Lights doesn't count. It specifically has to be Sunlight, which is mechanically defined in a higher level spell. It's and then it has 1 attack. Strength Drain. So it is a +4 to hit, 5-foot reach, 2d6 +2 necrotic, which is pretty hard hit for a half CR, maxing out at 14 necrotic. When it hits, its strength is reduced by 1d4. No save.
No save.
No save.
Okay.
If its strength becomes 0, it automatically dies.
Wow.
If that creature is a non-evil humanoid, in 1d4 hours, it returns as a new shadow.
After its death.
Yep.
Yes. Okay. Yep.
This strength drain lasts until the party takes a rest, a long or a short rest.
Okay. So easily recoverable. Still, I'm not sure they got the CR right on this one.
No. This is one of those ones where every time I read it, I'm like, no. No, I don't think so.
Sure, guys.
Yeah. Imagine being a CR half party and only being able to do half damage to this thing with all of your attacks.
Right. Yeah.
So that 16 is actually a 32.
I mean, this thing is going to go down easily, even though it's got some immunities and it's got like no HP. So
yeah, this should ideally take you around to beat.
Yeah.
But 14 points of damage could take down a fighter at first level.
Right.
So if this thing gets 2 rounds and it hits a wizard, like how many wizards have strength higher than 8 that you can think of?
Yeah.
Like, and then
the only ones are the ones that just specifically went to 10, so they didn't have a negative, and that was it.
Yeah, exactly. So if this drops one of those, you go take a short rest to recover that strength drain. You could theoretically be facing 2 shadows, and then we have a little something Matt Colville likes to call the death spiral.
And it's a dangerous game to play.
Yes, very much so. But that's it for the 5e1. They're very simple and straightforward, but I like them. These are one of my favorite creatures mechanically because they do, they get in and out, they hit hard, and they go down fast. And there's a real negative to being attacked by these things.
Yeah, I'd say. Yeah, I mean, quickly comparing to the 2e one too, it's all very similar. It's got the light vulnerability and stuff, and it's immune to pretty much the same idea of stuff, and it's got a good amount of resistance. So the resistance isn't overcoming that work quite differently. But yeah, it'll steal your shadow, and it does it through enfeebling you, which affects your strength. But it does not have any auto death mechanics in there. Unless there's just like a nested rule in there when you get enfeebled so far you automatically die, but I don't think that's true. Yeah, it's they're pretty similar, just definitely different CRs, different amount of damage happening. They start at CR4 and 2e, which isn't quite comparable, but it's comparable enough.
Yeah,
and then like the variants just look at things like hopping between shadows, or possessing a nearby undead corporeal creature, or like actually interacting with a physical object or something like that. But that's about it.
Crazy. And then we have this little tidbit from the Guildmaster's Guide to Ravnica. This is a shadow horror. We are not covering it in depth because it is classified as a horror, which is mechanically an aberration, and not a shadow, which is an undead incorporeal. However, it does have a lot of the same abilities. And it has 2 that I think can really quickly make the shadow more interesting. The first is incorporeal movement. So that's regular movement, but if it ends its turn inside of a creature or object, they take 1d10 necrotic damage.
Okay. Yeah.
Very similar to a ghost.
So, sorry, the creature takes it, or the person they're inside?
The person they're inside of, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, if they finish their space in, yeah.
Yeah.
It also has something called Lashing Shadows, which is a recharge 5 or 6. So all creatures within 60 feet are required to make a DC 16 Dex save, and that's 6d8 necrotic on a fail. Keep in mind, this is a CR9 creature with an AC of 13 and 120 HP, but
right,
if you want to make this just, even 3 CR higher, throw in one of those Lashing Shadows and just drop the dice, make it 2d6, recharge on a 6, and then all of a sudden this is a CR3. No problem.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, it seems odd to have the incorporeal movement on an aberration, but
yeah, it's the way horrors work. So the idea is that in Guildmaster's Guide to Ravnica, you can take this horror template and apply it to any creature, but all creatures, the type of creature is a horror, whereas in this, the type of creature is a shadow.
Gotcha.
So it's a horror made of shadows, not a horror of shadows.
Gotcha.
I don't know if that made any sense whatsoever.
I think I'm following you, but yeah, okay. Yeah, it's like a family of creatures that can turn any other creature into its own family kind of thing. And
yeah. Okay, so horror is a template that you stamp on stuff.
Cool.
Yeah, it's actually a really interesting mechanic.
Neat. Yeah. Cool.
That's it, man.
That's it.
Unfortunately, I actually don't have anything I would do differently with the shadows. I've run them a bunch and they are dangerous, so I never run them as CR1/2. So I will always run I'll run 2 or 3 of them as like a CR2, and that normally works out pretty well.
These seem like creatures that like I would get more, I think, fun out of them by having them, in this case with this stat block, having them like lurking around a town and killing like, locals and townsfolk and stuff like that as a way of building up some tension. And then maybe they, the party probably, they probably would encounter at least one and like risk that death have a a more tangible, hands-on experience of why it's so dangerous. But yeah, but otherwise, yeah, these are definitely side creatures. They're a little dangerous, but they're not your main enemy at all.
Yeah, I like using them as like walls. So like if you've got a weaker main boss, throw an antechamber in front of that main boss, throw 3 shadows in there and throw up a couple of locking doors and make your party fight these creatures, and then either decide to take a rest in that antechamber just outside of the main boss's room where they could easily stumble upon them mid-rest, or just push on and then directly engage in the next fight without even realizing it. So
right, yeah,
they're a nice way to sap some resources before you actually attack, like a boss.
Right, for sure. Yeah, because you might think twice about going into that boss room if your strength's been dropped down, and you're like, oh, we got a short or long rest, but is it worth it? Is it too dangerous to do that here? Will we be attacked again? Build up that tension. Do or don't go in, and then if they don't go in, they decide to back out. Like maybe that boss isn't there anymore, and something else gets replaces that spot, and things don't go so great for the grand scheme.
Yeah, I mean, if you take an hour rest, that gives the boss time to buff or prep or set a trap or
start casting defensive spells, something like that.
Because if you're clanging around trying to hit a shadow with a regular sword, it's the reason it does half damage is because it passes through the shadow and hits the rock below or the floor below or the walls around it. So this is going to be a loud fight just based on the nature of incorporeal combats.
Yeah.
So that would alert anything in the next room if they're paying attention.
Yeah. Some good spots to use it, but I'm the same. I don't think I'd change anything. Just bear in mind that CR is probably not accurate.
Yeah.
It's a little bit too much.
It is a little it is a little too much to be a 1/2. Yeah, especially if you're using it, intelligently and moving it around. Using that bonus action to hide in shadows, like there's a lot of stuff that can really mess with your party here.
Yeah.
But that's gonna do it for Shadows. Thanks for listening this week. If you liked it, you can find us on patreon.com/Uncharted North, where $5 a month will get you a handwritten thank you letter and a themed button. If you just want some merch with Critty on it, or maybe our Uncharted North compass logo that can be seen in Freeman's frame over yonder, you can find all that stuff on unchartednorth.com/shop. If you want to check out the reading list with some links, if you want to know more about that Wicca coven, you can find that all at encounterthis.ca, which just directly links you to our show notes section of the Uncharted North website. If you want to get in touch with me and tell me I'm wrong about Shadows being way too deadly for being a CR 1/2, you can do that on Twitter at EncounterPod. If you want to get in touch with Freeman and tell him that the 2E Shadow is way better than the 5E one, you can get at him on facebook.com/EncounterPod or Instagram at encounter.pod. And at that Instagram link, you can find a bunch of these neato arts. We're definitely going to be throwing up that 4E one. We'll definitely throw up that Shadow and Batman cover and that Beware the Gray Ghost poster, because I love them so much. If you're watching this on YouTube, if you could like, and we'd really appreciate that. If you want to get notified about new and upcoming episodes, hit the subscribe button and then the bell. The bell will notify you. If you don't want to be notified, you can just hit the bell again, and we'll put a slash through it, and then we won't pop up in your little notification bar. And if you're listening to this on Apple Podcasts or whatever that new one Scott said this morning, Pod Addict, please rate and subscribe if you can. Yeah, Podcast Addict. It's apparently, according to Google, become the #1 app for podcasts on the Android platform, and they have a rating system. So if you could rate us on there. Most importantly, thank you so much for listening. We hope you're having a good 2023 so far, and we'll be back at you again in 2 weeks with our next episode.
And what will we cover? We don't know yet. Perhaps a shadowy figure in the doorway. That's all I get.
Seed of crime bears bitter fruit, you old hag.
May God help the guilty.